Welcome back to Macabre Monday on Sinister Serials. In midst of the ancestors, the McAllister family has faced spectral threats and unraveled ancient curses within their ancestral manor. With each relic discovered, the stakes have grown, drawing them closer to a ritual that could either break their curse or bind them to eternal torment. Join us as they confront their darkest hour in the pursuit of salvation.
Chapter 12. The Darkest Hour. The air within the manor hung heavy with dread and foreboding, a tangible force weighing upon the McAllisters as they gathered solemnly in the library. Outside, the fog swirled and eddied with quickening fervor, writhing forms dancing along the perimeter of the estate grounds. Each member of the family felt the creeping dread seep into their bones. The ritual loomed. When Lily withdrew the final accursed relic, a rusted iron shackle etched with runes of binding, they knew the toll it had taken from her pallid frame. "I found it in the old gamekeeper's cottage," she whispered, fresh wounds scoring her slender hands. "My blood seems to be the key." In the ensuing silence, they studied the second relic, a silver button aglow in the firelight, taken from the scaled fingers of the spectral bride on the misty lake's shore. Only one remained to complete the required trio, but at what further cost? That night, in fevered dreams, Lily beheld Eldric's shade drift in the ether before her. "The ritual can only be attempted once," his ethereal voice echoed. "If you fail, your souls shall join our endless torment." Before she could plead for guidance, he dissipated into vapor. Dawn broke, yet its one light shed little comfort in the shrouded estate. Malign forces now battered their doors come nightfall. "We must finish preparations," Robert urged, fastening the shutters against the banging. His family nodded, willing to brave the curse's fury. In defiance, Eldric's shrouded portrait crashed to the floor as they passed, his sneering visage glaring through torn canvas. Fierce winds rampaged within the very walls, shrieking unintelligible warnings. Still, the McAllisters pressed on, their faith shielding them from the curse's sting. "If this be our final night of life and breath, I would have you know, I would choose no finer souls with whom to meet my death," Robert proclaimed to his kith over their lamplit meal. Though harrowed, Margaret and their children nodded, bound by blood and bond of spirit. In the chamber prepared with relics and runes, their shaking hands joined. Eyes closed, Lily invoked the ritual's first lines. "Scalichan dorcha, thiganis, leona cridechan leagal, leiglason samchaira bith nar skiath, and talam na leabaith naom." Reality wavered, and in a heartbeat, all was stillness. No sound of storm or whispering shade. Only their heartbeats and muted anxious breath stirred the hushed air. The darkest hour was come. Suddenly, the temperature plunged to frigid depths no earthly cold could match. Their lungs seized as though gripped by the hands of the dead. Eldric's mocking laughter filled the void as his writhing shade took form before their frozen gaze. Did you believe breaking the curse would be so simple? The chamber doors slammed shut, sealing them all within shadowed darkness. A blood oath had been invoked that no fledgling spell could unwind. The true ritual had only just begun, and this time there were no lines they dared leave uncrossed. A blast of icy wind erupted in the ritual chamber, extinguishing the candles and leaving the McAllisters in mute darkness. The ancient stones beneath their knees throbbed with sinister energy as spectral shadows swirled and convulsed along the walls. Lily's voice trembled as she continued the incantation, appealing to forces beyond the veil. The air grew dense with unseen currents, the line between worlds fraying before their eyes. In the darkness, her family stood in silent solidarity behind her shaking form. Without warning, the chamber doors creaked open, torn from their hinges by an invisible force. The fog flooded inward, blanketing the ritual artifacts in its diffuse glow. From the swirling mist emerged three spectres, their features obscured beneath rotting shrouds. "You are not the first to tamper with what you fail to comprehend," one apparition rasped, its ghostly voice both young and impossibly ancient. "Many before you have sought to undo Eldric's oath. All have been found wanting." The wraiths glided forward, the temperature plummeting further with each step. From beneath their cowls came the faint clicking and chittering of insects and clattering bones. Their shadowy fingers stretched toward the diary as the spectres surrounded Lily's rigid form. "Let the child be," Robert bellowed, shielding his daughter with his body. "Your grievance is with me." Margaret rushed to his side, the family forming a protective barrier against the advancing apparitions. A sinister chuckle emanated from the wraiths. "So noble, and yet so foolish," the voice rasped as the fog flooded inward once more. "This night shall deliver far worse than mere grievances." The mist enveloped them all, plunging their world into darkness. Within its depths came the insidious scuttling of countless unseen horrors, swarming hungrily toward their helpless flesh. The McAllisters clung to one another, hearing the rending of fabric as icy claws tore into their barricade. Lily raised her voice in defiance through her tears, determined to battle the fiends to her last ounce of strength. The ritual had failed, but she knew this would not be the curse's final word. Shadowy talons slashed toward Lily as she threw up her hands in self-defense. From the silver band on her finger erupted an orb of dazzling light, scattering the wraiths with unearthly shrieks. As her family stared in awe, she seized the opening. "Quickly! The portal remains open." Lifting the diary, she traced a fiery sigil on the chamber floor. Her family joined hands around it as arcane syllables tumbled from her lips. The stones rumbled, the fiery glyph flaring brighter, its cores responding to her call. With a deafening crack, the chamber floor gave way, plunging them all into the yawning void below. Ancient visions flooded their senses, of druids in horned masks performing gory rites beneath the manor's primordial stones, of women in white robes chanting as a writhing beast emerged through a shimmering rift. They slammed into an underground lake in a vast cavern far below the manor, illuminated by veins of glowstone. Sodden and shaken, the McAllisters crawled onto the obsidian shore as Lily held the glowing diary aloft. Images danced across its pages, scenes of rituals tying the curse to portals linked below the estate. "We cannot give up," Lily urged, helping her family regain their feet. "The battleground has changed, but our crusade continues." Chapter 13. A Sliver of Hope. Silence hung heavy over the cavern, broken only by the lapping of dark water against obsidian shores and the echoes of dripping stalactites. One by one, the McAllisters gathered their wits after the violent expulsion from the ritual chamber above. Flesh and bone ached from the unceremonious descent into the living catacombs beneath the manor. Yet the sting of new lacerations was but superficial compared to the abyssal hollow left in each soul by bitterness of failure. They had gambled everything on the ritual's success, only to have victory ripped away at the last. Lily ran her hands over the diary's worn cover, its pages now inexplicably blank. Had its secrets abandoned them in their time of greatest need? Margaret tenderly cradled Percival, the youngest, as he sobbed into her shoulder. They had braved such horrors as a family, only to be robbed of hope when they stood on the cusp of dawn. "What now?" murmured Robert, voicing the despair that fettered them all. "Is our fate to waste away in this subterranean darkness?" Lily shook her head, steel entering her eyes as she took up a glowstone. They had ventured this far together. There had to be a light still left to follow. Ushering her family to a clearing along the lakeshore, Lily attempted to take stock of their predicament. By the faint glowstone light, Margaret tended to their cuts and bruises, invoking what little medical knowledge she possessed. They had escaped the ritual chamber with only torn clothes and rattled bones, but the curse's true wounds would not be so easily salved. Percival continued to huddle close to his mother as she spoke soothing words. Constance, the elder daughter, stared silently into the dark water, her haunted gaze reflecting the trauma of what they had witnessed. She had always been the most skeptical, relying solely on cold reason rather than faith or intuition. But now even her considerable intellect could not explain the presence of wraiths or the strange vortex that had deposited them unceremoniously in this lightless realm. Robert placed a steadying hand on Lily's shoulder, grounding her amidst the unmoored aftermath. "We must allow ourselves time to gather our thoughts," he said gently. "Rash actions will only lead further astray." Lily nodded, turning the blank pages of the diary through her fingers. Their path was unclear, but her father's wisdom rang true. They would find their footing again. For now, mere respite from terror's grasp was blessing enough. As the others settled into uneasy rest, Lily retreated to an isolated outcrop, wishing to commune alone with the aged tome that had become an extension of her consciousness. The diary remained wordless, yet she could feel the latent thrum of its legacy energy against her palms, a pulse like that of a slumbering heart. "What more have you to teach me?" she whispered, fingertips grazing the weathered symbol etched central upon its cover. There must be deeper revelations yet concealed in its pages. For all Eldric's poetry regarding the Veil of Worlds, he had not deigned to include specific instructions should the veil fail to part. Lily's blood, so potent in unlocking the cursed manor's many secreted mysteries, now seemed pale and ineffectual here in this subterranean realm. There would be no Hollywood dramatics, no tearful speech coaxing answers magically from the book's blank parchment. Only perseverance and her wits, two assets remaining in ready supply, could serve her now. Gently laying the tome upon the obsidian altar stone she had chosen, Lily closed her eyes, envisioning the last glimpse of arcane script she had witnessed within. Though her faith had been tested beyond measure, she refused to accept that their tribulations had been for naught. With patience and dedication, the lost words would return, and they would try again. As Lily sat in meditation, the very stone beneath her seemed to thrum with renewed vigor. Opening her eyes, she gasped as faded letters swam to the surface of the diary's parchment in response to her touch.
Thank you for joining this chapter of Mists of the Ancestors. The McAllister's journey through shadowed halls and hidden truths grows ever more perilous. What fate awaits them in the depths beneath the manor? Will the final relic bring hope or deeper despair? Stay with Sinister Serials and join us next Macabre Monday to uncover the secrets that lie in wait.